Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something crucial, securing those cyber-physical systems. IoT, OT, ICS.
Right from the start.
Exactly, right from deployment. We've looked at some insights that highlight steps often missed, but these are the ones that really cut down long-term risk.
Yeah, these foundational steps are key.
So whether you're maybe planning a new smart factory, managing current systems, or even just curious about industrial security, this is definitely relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today, pull out the core best practices for secure CPS deployment straight from the experts.
Yeah, because often, the push is just to get things running. Security can sometimes feel like an afterthought.
But it can't be.
No, absolutely not. Those initial choices, they really define your security posture for years to come. We want to focus on those vital, sometimes overlooked first steps.
Okay, let's dig in. First up, something that sounds basic, but apparently isn't always done right, network segmentation.
Oh, fundamental.
The sources are pretty clear. Isolate CPS networks, use firewalls, keep them totally separate from the corporate network, and definitely no direct internet connection. Why is this separation so critical right at the beginning?
Well, think of it like building strong walls. It's about containment. If, say, your corporate network gets hit by something nasty.
Ransomware, for example.
Exactly. That isolation stops it from just jumping straight over to your operational tech, your critical processes.
So it limits the blast radius.
Precisely. And the sources also pointed out, even within the OT zone itself, segmentation is key to stop threats moving laterally if something does get in.
Makes sense. Okay, moving beyond just the network wiring, configuration management planning, the idea that you need a plan for this proactively.
Yeah, because these systems aren't static, are they?
Yeah.
Initial setup is it's just the start.
Things change.
Constantly, you get configuration drift, maybe network changes are needed, storage issues pop up. All these little changes can subtly open up security holes over time.
So a plan helps you track and control that.
Right. It prevents those unexpected vulnerabilities from creeping in just because things evolved.
Okay. Now, access control. The sources mentioned leveraging existing single sign-on SSO for users needing access to the CPS environment. Seems efficient.
It really is. It streamlines things, sure. But more importantly, it enforces your standard corporate security policies.
Like strong passwords, MFA.
Exactly. Across everything, including the industrial side, that consistency is a huge win against credential theft.
And it's not just who is logging in, but also the devices themselves. The material really emphasized device authentication and encryption.
Correct. It's about trust. You deploy digital certificates to each IoT or OT device. Think of it like a digital passport.
Okay.
This lets devices strongly authenticate to each other, and it means their communication gets encrypted. Protects against eavesdropping, data tampering.
And managing those certificates is part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Their life cycle.
Absolutely. Can't just issue them and forget.
Now, here's one I found interesting. Planning ahead for cyber insurance data. Having a strategy from day one for what data you'd need if there was an incident.
Yeah, that's thinking ahead. It sounds maybe a bit premature during deployment.
Right. You're just trying to get it working.
But
Yeah.
if something does happen, having that info documented like network maps, detailed asset lists with firmware versions, typical data flows, it can drastically speed up the insurance claim and recovery.
Especially for OT, where the impact is on physical processes.
Exactly. Insurers need specifics for that.
Another big point, dedicated asset discovery. Specifically for IoT and OT, your standard IT tools aren't enough.
Nope. They often just don't speak the right language metaphorically. OT protocols, device behaviors, they're different.
So you need a specialized tool for visibility.
Yes, continuous visibility. You need to know exactly what's connected, what it's running, how it's talking. The environment changes, so discovery has to be ongoing to keep your security posture accurate.
And this one felt subtle but important. Verifying the data stream itself, making sure the data from the device actually arrives at its destination, like storage, untampered with.
Data integrity, yeah. Encrypting the pipe is one thing.
But is the data itself still trustworthy when it gets there?
Right. Was it modified? Maybe accidentally, maybe maliciously, somewhere along the way.
Okay,
You need checks for that. It ensures you can actually rely on your operational data.
good point. Okay, also aligning the ongoing maintenance things like password rotation, firmware updates for CPS with the regular corporate security schedules.
bringing it all under one roof. It's
Yeah.
about unified governance, really.
Not letting the OT side become a forgotten silo.
Exactly. If it's managed inconsistently or just overlooked, that's where vulnerabilities fester. Integrating it ensures it gets the same attention as the IT side.
And budgeting. The sources stress looking at both CapEx and OpEx from the start, not just relying on an operational expense model.
Yeah, that holistic view is crucial. Securing these systems isn't a one-off purchase.
It's ongoing.
Right. An OpEx model might look tempting up front, but if you skip the necessary capital investment in foundational security controls, well, you'll likely pay much more later, either in cleanup costs or higher risks.
Makes sense. Finally, sharing knowledge internally, getting different teams talking, and working with the CISO to formally include CPS and IoT in the main corporate security policies.
It boils down to shared responsibility, doesn't it? Security works best when it's not just one department's job.
Getting operations and security on the same page.
And ensuring the CISO has visibility and can integrate CPS risks into the organization's overall strategy. It makes security an integral part, not an add-on.
So wrapping this up, the core message seems pretty straightforward. Getting security right from the absolute beginning with these cyber-physical systems isn't just optional. It's fundamental for resilience down the line.
Couldn't agree more. That initial setup, building that secure foundation during deployment, it's genuinely the most effective way to minimize risk and keep these critical systems running safely and reliably.
Definitely. And for everyone listening, maybe take a moment to think, in your world, how could applying some of these upfront practices make your connected systems more secure in the long run? What's maybe one small change in how you approach new tech that could give you the biggest security win later? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.